Several European countries are battling for their mountains. Germany, France and Italy are calling for a Europe-wide shutdown of ski resorts until at least the 10th of January. But Switzerland, which has already opened some pistes, and Austria are reluctant to follow suit. The Austrian mountainside party destination Ischgl is set to open in mid-December. It played a key role in the spread of the virus during Europe's first wave after local authorities failed to contain an outbreak. Governments are trying to weigh up allowing people to celebrate Christmas while also preventing a third wave of COVID-19. Louise Miner has our main story.
The Christmas break will be very different in Europe this year, as we know. In France, bars and restaurants will remain closed until January the 20th. But the Prime Minister is encouraging French people to visit its 350 ski resorts. Some across Europe were previously coronavirus epicentres back in March.
Of course, it will be possible for everyone to go to ski resorts to enjoy the pure mountain air and the shops that will be open. Except bars and restaurants. Simply put, all the ski lifts and public facilities will be closed to the public.
It follows the German Chancellor seeking a common approach in the bloc to keep ski resorts shut until early January. Even though France and Italy have backed the idea, Austria has raised its concerns. But Angela Merkel called for patience as the virus restrictions are extended to at least December the 20th.
Today, 4 weeks later, we can see that these measures have led to a reduction in contacts of about 40%. The dramatic exponential growth of new infections has been halted. And it's impossible to imagine where we would be today if we'd not been willing and able to make this national effort 4 weeks ago, when it was literally 5 to 12.
Meanwhile, in the UK, the Christmas period will also be very changed to other years. The Health Secretary says England will continue to face tight restrictions on socialising and business. From December the 2nd, the majority of England will be in the top 2 tough tiers. Louise Miner, Euronews.
For more on this, let's cross straight over to Brussels, where we can speak to our political editor, Darren McCaffrey. Darren, how many times have we spoken to each other about European leaders trying to find consensus and coordinate things, and yet again, the talks are on a slippery slope?
Yeah, they really are, Oliver, and you've kind of got these countries now pitted against each other in many regards, with Germany, Italy and France seemingly on one side, Austria and Switzerland on the other. And it's pretty clear, you know, from those leaders who do not want to see these ski resorts reopen. It is for a reason. They say that when you look at what happened last year, the virus essentially started to spread on a big scale because of ski resorts. That should not be allowed to happen again this time round. And many people also looking back at what happened over the summer holidays when lots of people travelled throughout Europe, didn't they? And they unfortunately brought the virus with them, and with millions of people expected to travel again at Christmas. In addition to that, with ski resorts, it is potentially a recipe for a third wave. Now, how has the European Union reacted to all of this? Well, they say, Oliver, it's not us, Gov. Essentially, you know, the EU, when it wants to, says, well, it's not really our decision. It's up to national governments to make that decision. Again, you're right in pointing out a recognition to a large degree that national governments are acting in what they think is their own interest, particularly the Austrians in this, saying that they feel that their resorts are so important to their economy and can proceed safely that they should be allowed to reopen. Now, I had a chance to speak to one German MEP. He's in the same party as Angela Merkel, Peter Lesser, and I began by asking him, he also serves as a doctor, I should say, by what he thought about ski resorts opening and whether he thought it was a good idea.
Maybe surprising for many people, I think it's a good idea when the figures are down. You know, I enjoyed my summer holiday in Bavaria. I had to wear a mask when I used the cabin, the cable car. If the figures are down, if we are able to bring the figures down until, let's say, February, then I'm in favor of skiing, but I'm strongly against après-ski, because the problem in the last winter was not skiing. The problem was après-ski, making party, meeting people in a closed room with many, many people crying out loud. So I'm not against skiing when the figures go down. So first we need to bring the figures down.
But isn't the problem, though, that during the summer, lots of people did go on those summer holidays, and we know that in part has led to this second wave, because we've seen strains that were in Spain, for example, of the virus are now all over Europe. And even when the infection rate is down, surely just travelling around and socialising and going on holiday, whether it's in a ski resort or on a beach, it means that you are potentially going to help spread that virus.
Yeah, we shouldn't repeat the last summer in this winter, even not in February or March. But first of all, we see the first positive effects of the vaccine in February and March. When we have vaccinated a big part of the risk groups, it will be better. And then we need to be more able to control who is going where and what are the risks. But to go skiing, it is outside, and anyhow, it's unhealthy to not keep a distance when you are skiing.
One of the other big obstacles will be around people's unwillingness to take up this vaccine. And we've seen quite a few figures released in the last week or so showing that, rates, particularly in places like France and Italy, are quite high, of citizens essentially saying, we do not want this vaccine. And that could impair its effectiveness, couldn't it?
Yeah, unfortunately, yes. And I think we need to do two things. First of all, we need to really assure that the process of approval is appropriate and safe. And that's why I expect the European Union to be a bit later in the approval than the United States. But then, of course, we need to explain to the people that there may be theoretical minor risk even after approval. That's possible, that we find something in 2 years which we didn't expect now. But major side effects would have been found out now, because all the vaccines have been tested with 10,000 people. And last week, Ursula von der Leyen said it, there was no other reason for people dying in the European Union that was more numerous than COVID-19. So even in theory, the vaccine can't be more dangerous than the virus. So vaccination is the solution and not the problem.